Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our marketing webinar today. I'm really excited to have an amazing panel here to speak to us about event marketing on social media. Just as usual, there's a Q&A, so if you have questions as we're going through, feel free to drop them in and we'll get to as many as we can. And this webinar will be recorded, which you can catch up on our YouTube channel. We've got quite a lot to go through today, so I'm just going to jump into some brief introductions. I'm Rio and I'm Head of Customer Experience at Tailor, and really excited to speak to our panel today. Rishi, would you mind introducing yourself to our lovely audience, please?
Cool. So, hi guys, my name is Rishi. I'm London born and bred. I have experience from the fintech world and now in the marketing and advertising world with a digital company called Tulips, which is a digital branding agency.
Thanks, Rishi. And Rory, if you wouldn't mind giving a little introduction as well.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Rory. I'm Irish originally, but I presently live in the Netherlands, where I have done for 9 years. I run Amsterdam AmsterdamTulipstour.com, and we do off the beaten track tours of Dutch tulip fields in April and early May. I've had some other URLs which didn't quite hit, but this one has hit a little bit. So yeah, I do tours of Dutch tulip fields.
Awesome, thanks, Rory. And finally, Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia. So I'm the head of marketing at Tailor, where I've been for over a year now. Prior to that, I was the brand and comms manager at Mindful Chef, a recipe box company where I worked for 6 years. And then alongside my career in marketing, I'm also a content creator. So I have a food Instagram account called Healthy Olivia. Hoping to share lots of experience with you all today.
Awesome. So now we're going to jump right in with some amazing insights from some of our panel. So Rory's going to start us off and give us a bit of a talk through about growing Amsterdam Tulips tour and the story behind that.
Sure. So I moved to the Netherlands in 2014. Shortly after started doing tours, maybe about a year. I had a background in entertainment, but I wasn't going to get work straight away in Dutch entertainment. I like tours. And I guess I trudged along for maybe a few years. Tourism, like on the independent sector, is quite a tough business. Well, it's quite a competitive business to be in. But I did build up a very good body of reviews on TripAdvisor, and I had loads and loads of pictures of people having great times on my tours. And in the run-up just before COVID hit, I had been wanting to segue away from that to something a little bit more of a bespoke business, still within the cultural field. But I had even before COVID, I had prepared myself that I wasn't going to be doing tours, but I wasn't at that point when COVID hit, so it was absolutely disastrous for me. As that was my sole income was doing tours, and there was none obviously to be done during COVID. I've had various URLs over the years, and I think I bought AmsterdamTulipstour.com maybe in 2019, and I largely did private tours. With like a different URL, and I had a partnership. And then during COVID, I just basically used some of the free time to optimize my site. I don't consider myself an expert at all. I went, I guess I looked at some YouTube videos as how do you do SEO optimization. I did it. I do have loads and loads of pictures of small groups of tourists having a wonderful time in Dutch tulip fields. So it is, at least from my point of view, it is very. Yeah, I think it's a prerequisite that when people come for my events, that they do have a great time. And then once you have that proof, that social proof, how do you communicate it to people? What I found as we kind of came out of that lockdown in 2022 is that there was a trickle of inquiries to my private tour business. And then I found that I was ranking on Google, I think for Amsterdam Tulips Tour and Amsterdam Private Tulips Tour. Which was a bit of a surprise to me because I don't consider myself an SEO person at all. I'm not at all technical. And I think I was on the third page of Google for, I think maybe Amsterdam Private Tulips Tour. And what I noticed over the next few months is that I started rising up the pages. I looked into a little bit. Apparently, if you respond to customers on time, a contact would come in, I would get back to them. I don't know how Google was aware of that. But I guess once the system started going well, it was easy to keep on top of it. And since then, I've just I have quite a valuable spot on Google now, which is where I get all of my customers from. And I didn't pay a penny. And I would say a little bit of a boast. This past season, I did have Barack Obama, so as a tour guest
I think that is
on my tour. So that was pretty
something
cool.
you can boast about that
I think so,
for the
right?
rest of
Yeah,
your
that's
life,
like,
definitely.
yeah, I think
Please
so. So
keep
yeah.
boasting.
So yeah, and his people literally found me on Google. Like you would think it would be more cloak and dagger than that, but it wasn't. They just went on Google and did a search for like private tulip tours or like off the beaten track tulip tours and found me and hired me.
Awesome. Thanks, Rory. I love that story. I think it's so inspirational that you just sort of went out there, found what you could do for free, and it's just grown that way. I think, Rishi, I want to hand over to you now because you're coming at event marketing from a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
So I'll jump into it. Let me share my screen. I think this is the correct one. Yeah, perfect. So just going to talk about Cocktails in the City, an amazing brand event, and something I was a consumer first before I became part of their marketing or taking over their marketing. And we actually use Tailor for all the kind of ticketing needs and stuff. But quickly, so who are Two Dudes? So Two Dudes are my digital agency. Started as a duo of dudes and now turned into a creative digital marketing agency based in London. Here's a few of the clients. These are quite old clients. We've retained some of them, but we've got a much larger list now. And Cocktails in the City is, as we call it, London's favorite outdoor drinks event. We're missing the word outdoors. Let's serve it. And what Cocktails City is, it brings 20 of London's best bars and brands together into a small, intimate Georgian Gardens in central London. And it's a brilliant kind of event if you like cocktails, if you'd like to do something a bit different. There's live music, ice carving, cocktail masterclasses, all outdoors. And that beautiful week of sun that we had in September when it was all-time highs, brilliant, brilliant event to be at. So with that, I'm going to talk about digital marketing for an outdoor cocktails event. So for this event, where we have about 1,300 people to 1,500 people a day at the event in these kind of small gardens, there are kind of 4 stages we wanted to go about. One was the social organic route of making people aware through the use of social media, so just making people aware that the event is there, it's happening, it's in central London. Next part is through direct digital marketing, so paid ads through, mostly for us, Meta, so Facebook and Instagram. The third part was giving a lot of love to the brands that were at the event, so the exhibitors, so the bars, the alcohol brands, and a few other things such as Monopoly Life Size, Piano Works, a great live music brand. And then the fourth part was creating a large bank of user-generated content, especially through influencer marketing. And obviously the influencers then are also giving us more reach as well, which is kind of a double factor for us. So of the 4 things here, we'll talk about the first 3, starting with the third one because it's the quickest one. So brand engagement. The reason I'm talking about this is for us as Cocktails City, one of the income streams is that bars and brands have to pay to be in these gardens. So obviously we want to make sure that they're getting as much love and that they want to promote on their channels as well. So we're not just promoting through our own Cocktails in the City channels, we're promoting through 20, 40 other channels on their Instagrams, newsletters, websites, and we have so many people talking about Cocktails in the City all at one go. So for free event marketing for all these bars and brands, we created a large set of assets for each location, and we hit some great numbers. These are actually, I think, some of the smaller numbers we hit for these. And if I just show you like a quick one here, this is London Cocktail Club in Goode Street, one of their first clubs, and we did kind of mashup of showing a bit about the brand, which is Black Cow Vodka, a bit about London Cocktail Club, and showing the energy that they have.
World famous London Cocktail Club right here in Shaftesbury Avenue. Here at TCC, we've been training for 15 years, one of London's true legacy bar groups. I absolutely love the high energy.
So I won't go through the whole video. You can obviously feel free to watch it after, but it gives a kind of idea of, we're showing on our channel, Cocktails in the City, that this is one of the exhibitors and the brands Black Cat Vodka that are going to be with us come a few weeks in the kind of in September, August, and July, and giving all that extra love ahead of the event. So then they can put it on their channels. Then we're getting all this extra reach and awareness. The next part for the brands and bars were all the videos that we created at the gardens themselves. So just to give a bit of an idea, all fun, showing off the bars and brands. Black and Cane, one of my favorite bars in London. Still Rum. Same thing, I'm just kind of firing through them. Axia Spirits, Blue Bar. Very nice, showing off the drink, showing off the vibe, showing off the experience, and all the bars and brands love it. And that's kind of what we want to do to get as many of the people talking about our event as possible. So it's not just one channel, it's so many channels talking about us, but also giving love to all our exhibitors. Now, the next part is the main part, which is paid versus organic socials. So organic socials, there's about 5 things, I've got 4 here, 5 things that's good for. The first part is creating an aesthetic feed, which is for the aim of creating awareness. So if anyone comes to your feed, you see this beautiful kind of set of images and videos that talk and tell a story of why someone should be there. What is the experience? The second one is vanity metrics. So increasing your followers on your account. And even though the word vanity can sometimes be used as a negative, it is having more followers obviously can be leveraged to get bigger brands involved and so many other things as well. So it is something that's important at some stages. The third part is creating a platform to share all these videos about your exhibitor and brands, which I've just shown with some of the content that we've created. And the fourth one here is creating an active and engaged community. Creating a community on social media these days is a very hard thing to do, but for the people that do it right, you're smashing it on social media, especially on the organic side. The fifth one is, if you don't have enough budget to do paid marketing, then obviously just do what you can on organic socials. But with all that being said, social media is pay to play now to a large extent, especially Instagram and Facebook, the big ones. And by that, if you've got any other fellow gamers on this call, if you want to do well on social media, you have to get into the ad side of things. I can't say it enough, I can't shout it enough, and ads are really where it's at. And it's for multiple reasons, 3 of which are you can target the correct or new demographics that you want to come to your event. For example, 18 to 21-year-olds, while it's always nice to have young demographic with you who then can grow and learn to love your event more and more, will they really have the funds you want to be buying more drinks and so on at the event? For this event especially. Second, we can increase the reach and awareness and impressions so quickly through good paid ads. And the third one is, which is king, data collection. The more we have paid ads going out, the more data we can collect, obviously, if all our systems are connected correctly and tracking what we need to. And as a little kick at the Ticket Tailor make it pretty easy to track the events, such as who's purchased the ticket or who's gone to the basket and then left. So I can't explain enough how important doing paid marketing really is, and there's so many kind of metrics and things I could throw out, but I'm limited on time, so please feel free to ask anything after in the Q&A part. But for now, that's it. And yeah, I think that's covers generally a bit about, I know I've kind of fired through very quickly there, but hopefully that's given a bit of context into what we've done for Cocktails and City and why doing the social route is really important for brand awareness, to give love to your exhibitors, but going down the paid route such as Google ads, Facebook ads, and to some extent even TikTok nowadays, it's so important, so you can get that extra reach and really target the people you want, as well as those new demographics that you probably didn't even know about your brand originally.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that, Rishi. That's like super interesting. And I think it's a really nice contrast of your sort of big one-off event where you have a specific audience in mind versus like just how good Google can be for an event like Rory's, which maybe has a more broad appeal or is got a few more times people can come. So getting everyone on one day isn't as important, which kind of brings me on to a question that I was wanting to ask, which was like, what are the key elements for a social media strategy, or what's the key elements for promoting independent events? And do you have any tips of like how to tailor strategies to different events? Olivia, do you want to start us off with any suggestions?
Yeah, so in terms of this question, I kind of was thinking back to the basics of what makes a strategy successful. And I guess it's like, where do we even start? It's quite overwhelming, particularly for individual event organizers who maybe have never done anything like this before. So I kind of thought, well, what are my golden rules I stick to, and like, how do I start thinking about it? And I think really the thing with these kind of tips is they're applicable across all sorts of different events or even industries. And so basically the first one I always think about is, it's a very simple one, but it's basically the who. So it's like, who are you actually trying to attract? Who do you want to come to your event, or who do you want to be following you on social? And I think really that helps you really define what is that target audience. So is it like a younger Gen Z that is likely to be on TikTok, or is it like a mum that's in an active Facebook group? So even trying to consider that at an early stage can be really helpful. I appreciate maybe you don't know yet, so that's also okay. The second question that I then sort of bring myself to ask is kind of like, why? Like, why would anyone follow me? What am I doing that's different? You know, what is the purpose of the content I'm putting out there? So I suppose, like, you know, you could consider it of like, is it educational content? Is it something that's humorous or mood lifting? Or even just from the perspective of like, say, Cocktails in the City, that kind of content was just super engaging. It made me be like, right, I gotta go. I want to learn about that. Then the third point that kind of brings me on to is basically like, once you've gone through those first 2 steps, it's like, how do you discover your niche? So I think it's like, you know, if you go more like deeper dive into it, what kind of content pillars could you sort of speak to authentically? So I thought, like, from the example of Ticket Tailor, obviously we're a bit different in what we're doing around marketing, but kind of the pillars that we identified were sort of the how-to videos, the roundups, but also things like Rio's Help Talks. So that was the idea of testing a new way of showing people how to use our platform. We also have an event creator series, which is essentially sort of case studies. We have product updates, and then kind of general brand news. But identifying those different pillars helped us understand how would we communicate that message, and what are those messages, you know, what do they look like? There's 2 more. I'll try to be quick. The next one is finally just a bit more of a hack. So it's not necessarily a rule, but I really am a big fan of what I call time blocking. So it's this idea of being like, in the next 2 hours, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to map out every topic I want to talk about in social and make sure that that's like really tailored back to the sort of previous strategy. And then on top of that, I'm then like, okay, that's that step done. Then I'll be like, in the next couple of hours, I'm going to just write captions. And I just find that breaking it down into sort of those steps makes it a lot more manageable. So rather than being like, oh, I want to put a post out today, I'm going to have to find the asset, write the copy, schedule it, comment on it, engage with everyone. That can feel quite time consuming and a bit overwhelming. But if you do it in like blocks, again, yeah, becomes much more manageable. And then my final point, number 5, is that a strategy is well and good on paper. And you can think, you know, I've got the best strategy in the world, but essentially a lot of it comes down to the execution. And I guess, you know, you don't have to get things perfect. When I was at Mindful Chef, we'd do a lot on our mobile phones and we'd just give it a go. It was very much a case of don't let the perfection hold you back from progress. And once you've got something out there, you can then learn from it. So I guess, you know, you can test if video or photo works, or if it's a mobile phone versus like a really professional photo. And I guess as well, my like major takeaway advice is that I think consistency, so posting consistently and also engaging with your audience. So that point that Rishi made about growing your community, I would say that is like the number one. You're better off having, you know, 2,000 or 5,000 or whatever super engaged people that you chat with and that are like engaging with your content, rather than 100,000 where hardly anyone really cares what you're doing. So that's kind of just my 2 cents, but hopefully that helped answer the question.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. There's definitely a lot to take from there. Rishi or Rory, did you have anything you wanted to add about what you would suggest for anyone looking to put together a social media strategy or marketing strategy more generally?
I really just echo the last thing that Olivia said there, which is, I think it's like a very big in internet. Like the internet is a big place. There's loads of ways to achieve your goals. I think maybe especially like I'm an independent like operator, so this is not for like I'm not dealing with big brands. It's just my own little business. I think once you happen upon something that works for you, just kind of like I'm like, okay, that works. I'm done. I just make sure that I'm on top of like my website and adding new photos. I don't think you don't have to become a master of everything because you can't become a master of everything. But yeah, when you hit upon something that works, just kind of don't tinker too much with it, but also don't neglect it somehow.
That's definitely very, very great advice. And yeah, I wanted to ask if any of you have any examples of like creative or engaging campaigns that have been really successful in driving sales. Obviously, Rishi, you shared your cocktails in the city marketing, which looked amazing, professional, very clear what the event was doing. Has anyone got any other sort of suggestions or content examples?
So, I mean, yeah, I can fire away with a few ones. We've done one thing we always love to do, and I would always recommend to people, whether you're doing organic socials or paid marketing, is test things and test like one variable. So if you've got one video, the first 3 seconds of your video are so important, be it organic or be it paid. And what we've done so many times is we have the exact same video, but the first 3 seconds are different. So it's what happens in the first 3 seconds. And obviously we don't put this video back to back on organic socials, but over, let's say, a month period, we might post that one video 3 or 4 times to test it and just see which one is at the end of the month has got the most amount of engagement, reach, likes. And if we were then to use that hook, the first 3 seconds at the start again on a different set of videos the next month, would we see the same type of thing? And for example, it could be things, there's loads of different hooks at the start of the video, but the ones that we've been using quite quickly are very like snappy things that happen at the start. Like someone might go like, or we might just drop something into the video right at the start. You have something called ASMR, which is all about like sounds and how it makes your body tingle a little. So I would say definitely test one variable at a time. And when you find that one variable that works, then explore more ideas with that and keep going with that and see how long you can keep going before that idea starts fatiguing and go again. But we found generally, both with paid and organic side of things, it works so well. Once after, usually we test for about 3 months, but after that, we find what works and we really kind of push with that, and it really helps.
Awesome. I love that idea of like testing all your different content and making sure it works. Does anyone have any tips for content creation and like strengthening your brand presence? Like if there's anyone watching that wants to start building out their campaigns, are there any sort of sites or tools that you'd recommend?
I'm happy to dive in onto this one. I'm sure that everyone else has other tools. I think, to be honest, as simple as this sounds, I still heavily depend on Excel for a lot of content planning, because for me, it works. I like it. I like to be able to, color coordinate it all and plan it all out. But then when it comes to actually creating the content at work, we use Canva quite a lot because it's really accessible for the whole team. It means that a template could be made and anyone can dive in and edit it. And it just keeps that consistency. But we do also have a wonderful in-house designer, Karishma, had to give her a shout out, who creates a lot of our social content, and she uses programs like Adobe Suite and things. So she's doing things a bit more technically. And then personally, from a perspective of kind of recipe videos, I really love an app called Temply. So Temply. It's a small fee for a year, but it essentially lets you edit your videos on your mobile really easily. And I find it's a lot more reliable than doing it in the platform itself. So like say in Instagram, I found there was a lot of glitches, but equally you can do it offline. So I actually edit my reels on my way to work. So that's how I make the most out of my commute. And then finally, it's not exactly a tool, but kind of a learning resource. I'm quite addicted to the newsletter from later.com. So Later is a social scheduling tool. I don't actually use Later myself, but I find that their newsletters are like full of really helpful articles, and they're always at the forefront of trends. So it's the kind of thing where it keeps you on top of it. It means you're always learning. And when new kind of features are released, you sort of keep your finger on the pulse. So a bit like Instagram broadcast launched in the UK yesterday. So I've been reading about that all today and been like, how could event organizers use that to, you know, foster their community? So they're the tools that I find particularly useful.
I would agree with Olivia on a lot of those, and later.com is actually a brilliant, sign up to their newsletter and everything. They send so many good pieces, and yeah, I fully agree with everything she said on that. Excel, Words, great free platforms. There's no reason to pay for things when you've got free resources that do it brilliantly. We don't really use Canva, we use the Adobe suite. Enough of us in our team can use it, so we're quite happy with that. But in terms of editing on the go, which we have to do sometimes, we haven't got our laptops and stations. Cocktail C, great example. We're just hidden in a corner editing on our phones, and we use something called CapCut, which I believe is owned by ByteDance, which also own TikTok. So there is a whole thing on, if you use CapCut and posting on TikTok, it actually helps push your video out even more because you're using one of their editing suites. And it's free to most extent as well. So, and with so many templates to jump on, so definitely recommend CapCut.
So like tinkering around quite a lot. Like a long time ago, I went to a film school, so I consider myself a creative type, but I'm not technical at all, so I don't have enough Photoshop expertise to be very efficient at Photoshop, but I can kind of do some things, and I can kind of do even less in Illustrator. And I've actually found that there are a couple of more user-friendly Adobe programs. There's a Adobe Express, which is like basically, Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, and a bunch of other things for dummies, such as myself. And I've also edited some videos on Adobe Rush, which is a much more simple thing to use than Adobe Premiere. It's kind of drag and drop, basically. I suspect, I haven't used Canva myself, but I do suspect that maybe Adobe Express is quite similar to it. Yeah. But not certain. But I do find that it is very, very easy to use.
Just because I see in the Q&As, the things we were saying are later.com, Later, and CapCut, CAP CUT. Just I've seen a few comments on that.
Yeah, I'll post it. I'll post links to them as well after the webinar, so you can check them out if you want to. And yeah, I was wondering, like, we've talked about it a little bit, but how do you all stay up to date on like the latest sort of trends and algorithm changes? And like, Rory, you were talking about Google SEO. What's the best way to sort of stay up to date to make sure that like your marketing is hitting the places where it should be hitting, is reaching your ticket buyers, basically?
Well, again, I stress that I'm not an expert at all. So like, please do not view what I'm about to say as like super advanced technical advice. But I did hit upon something that worked. And I do have the benefit that my business is a seasonal business. We only operate in April and the first week or two of May. So I have the benefit of like, I can take months off. I generally might take like 3 or 4 months off, and then I slowly start updating the site, just because there is no particular urgency about it. So I guess I just, I'll go maybe look at a new YouTube video about SEO. I'll go back on my WordPress dashboard and just look at the SEO metrics there. Of course, you can have your Google Analytics and stuff. Again, I think it just goes back to, once you hit upon something that works, just kind of give it enough attention that you're, don't overly tinker with it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just look on YouTube. I just like what are, a lot of them are common sense things once you know about them. I think it can be a little bit, if you're just starting, there's a lot of like knowledge that it seems like you don't have. But once you hit upon something that works, I find you can have enough mastery of it to have a successful business with maybe less like specialist expertise than perhaps you're aware of.
Awesome.
My side of it, I would say there's two sides. I'm a massive nerd. I love data, so I'm actually reading those fact reports that Instagram and all of them put out, which no one should read because it just takes too long. There's no point. But I do read it, so I know exactly what's going on. But I would say on the flip side of it, there are some amazing creators out there on Instagram, TikTok, and so on. And I'd say the easiest way to stay up to date with them, with all the changes, just follow them. Watch these creators. I can't remember some of them off the top of my head. Maybe I can send it to you guys later. but follow them. It's the easiest way to stay up to date kind of thing without having to read reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd totally agree with that comment. I learn a lot from the people I follow. I even follow people on Instagram that their account is solely about how to grow on social media. So they're sharing videos every day saying, here are 5 hooks I've tried this month that worked, or here are 5 trending audios. And I'm like, what's that? So there's also an element of people kind of, just watching maybe even what your competitors are doing and following them and seeing the types of content that kind of resonates with their audience. And similarly, the same, like thinking back to kind of what works. It's that point that Rory made about like, if something's working, kind of just keep doing it in a sense. So I guess from a personal perspective, I posted a Tuscan orzo that had over 1 million views on Instagram. That was the biggest reach one of my videos has ever had. And I was like, whoa, I'm onto something finally. And what I did is I thought, well, if that's performed really well, I'm going to produce a very similar recipe, similar ingredients, also Tuscan. I did the similar opening, so the 3-second shot that Rishi was speaking about. So I had like a fork going in to kind of bring the eyes into what was going on. And so I did a Tuscan inspired gnocchi dish and had over 50,000 views. So I was like, okay, that was clearly like a good thing to do. So I guess my takeaway from that is like, if you do find a piece of content is really working for you, think about other ways you can sort of frame it or shape it. There was a question on the Q&A about like, how regularly can I post something without annoying people, essentially. The question itself said, how to schedule, do we post much between, and how to post without annoying people with repetition. And I think the thing there is, there's nothing wrong with repeating what works. Maybe it's just a case of slightly tweaking the creative. So maybe a slightly different video start, or perhaps a slightly different photo that you're using. But I don't think there's anything wrong with consistently repeating the message, particularly if it's like really close to an event. You know, for this webinar, we posted about it a few weeks ago, then we posted again a week ago, 24 hours before, and it's just a case of reminding people that something's happening, essentially.
And just to jump in a little bit, one very specific tool that I've kind of started using a little bit more is SEMrush, just for web analytics. Because I mean, I'm not a technical person at all, but there's a lot there. It can be quite expensive, but I do have a job with a SEMrush account, so I've been able to like go in and tinker there. And I think in the maybe 2 or 3 months before I start doing tours next year, I'll probably go and splash out on a monthly subscription for it, because there's just so much information and technical data that is just there, with very little for you to do to seek it out.
What I would say on that, if you don't want to pay high fees, there are so many tools on Google that people just don't even know exist. So if you're specifically talking about SEO or search rankings, anything like that, YouTube and set up something called Google Search Console. That is basically tracking everything to do with your website in terms of any traffic on your website. What pages are people coming to? How is your website ranking based on keywords and anything like that? It's a free platform. It's one of Google's things, and it's a brilliant platform. YouTube it. It will do a lot of work for you for free.
I will be honest, I haven't figured out how to put the technical code into my site. It's terrible. Yeah. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, I think at some point I'll just go and pay somebody to do it. With some of the Obama money that's coming my way.
Just wanted to pause on this sort of analytics side of the discussion, because we haven't really dug into that. In terms of like ticketing and helping you sell more tickets, is there anything you'd recommend people look at? Obviously, website hits or growing your content is really useful, but in terms of like converting that into sales, is there anything that anyone like specifically focuses on in the world of events that could be like a good tip for other event organizers?
I could talk about that for hours, to be honest. Well, I'll like I've been doing the whole time, I'll break into organic and paid. Paid is the quick route is, say you have a ticket at £50, you send out paid ads for £50. What you need to do, and this slightly gets more technical, but you need to then have a second ad running at the same time, which targets people who have gone to checkout but did not complete. And those people, you might either show them a new ad being like, oh yeah, definitely come, you need to come, or being like, here's a 10% discount. But only the people that have gone to check out and cancelled will now start seeing this ad on Facebook, Instagram. And that's just a nice way to get them to kind of try to push them to convert even more. What we do find is typically that it's not until the week of or something that they really start like powering in with the bookings. On the organic side, honestly, I would say it's just about being consistent with good content, and it's hard through organic socials without, and I'm very careful with being like buy now, like last remaining tickets, where it's kind of a bit, not in a bad way, but also like begging kind of being thing like that. Like if you're saying you've got a few tickets left, have you really? So you just want to, on the organic side, put out good, consistent content that people can engage with and slowly build that kind of community factor with a bunch of other kind of things we talked about, like hooks and so on.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thanks, Rishi. We've also got some amazing questions in the Q&A, so I wanted to just turn to some of those now. One of them was asking about timelines. Someone's asked like the best time of the day and week to post, or pre your event, when you should like be launching teasers, event reminders. Does anyone have ideas for those sort of things?
So generally, the best time to post is now. Like start posting, like whatever it is, get it out, be consistent as much as humanly possible within budgets you have, and go for it with a realistic kind of timeline of, let's say you have, like, let's use Cocktails and City. Cocktails and City, the first event is in July, like early July next year now. So we would start internally doing stuff from things as early as March or April, with things going live for latest kind of mid-May. So that's what, like 3 months ahead or something like that. And obviously we're ramping things up slowly and slowly. At the start, it's more kind of engaging with our brands and bars and stuff, so then they can start posting on their channels. But then as we get closer and closer, obviously it becomes more about ticket sales and showing the experience of what is the user going to get, what is the customer going to get when they come to your event. But honestly, start posting. Don't be fearful of posting. And a big tip, which I feel like some people don't realize, recycle content. If we posted something last month, post it again now. Like, no one's going to remember, no one's going to know. And if it did well last month, they might have room for it to do even better again now.
Thanks, Rishi. Rory, is that the sort of timeline that you would do for your tours as well?
To be honest, I don't feel qualified to answer this. People find me on Google. If you come to my site on Google, you see there are people smiling in tulip fields. And I think you're convinced that you are going to have a good time. I should probably have a lot more data and analytics on there, all these things. I get it in theory, that I might do better from it. But also I have a very limited capacity myself on the actual tours. So I kind of reached the point where I was like, well, I don't actually need to do all that work. I'm looking to ramp up my capacity for the next coming season, as I do have an amazing photo of me posing with Barack Obama in a field of tulips. So I am looking to capitalize on that, and I'm probably going to end up doing more technical things. But as of now, sorry, I don't feel qualified to add to Rishi's expertise.
No worries. There's another great question in the chat, which I think maybe everyone can answer. But for those people who are just starting to work, like go into digital marketing or that kind of thing, would anyone suggest focusing on just one social media platform, or would you recommend a breadth of them?
I would personally say start with one and put all your effort into one, and just think about what the different platforms provide. Instagram is saturated, but there is a lot of scope with a lot of tools going on, and a lot of people use it daily. So it's just an overall good platform. Facebook is great for building close communities. TikTok is very much for growing awareness with especially younger demographic, but also remember TikTok, while you can grow rapidly very quickly, especially with TikTok, it doesn't always convert to sales. So I would just say have a think and research which of the platforms works best for whatever your needs are, and then start consistently and doing really good stuff on that one. And as you grow to whatever scale and you have more budget or more time, then start reposting stuff onto from Instagram to TikTok or TikTok to Facebook or so, or even YouTube Shorts, which a lot of people don't talk about.
I totally agree with everything Rishi said, and I don't actually have anything else to add to that apart from I agree with focusing your efforts in one place, and then the comment about kind of then being able to use that content elsewhere is a really good point. So for example, I focused all on my own Instagram, and I have a TikTok account with maybe about 50 followers. It's very small, but I thought to myself, well, I've got hundreds of videos, so now I just need to make the time to schedule them all across, and there's no reason why that shouldn't help me grow a following there as well. But I didn't want to try and do both because it can be very time consuming, and better to do one thing well.
Yeah, sorry to be boring, but I agree. Do one thing well versus multiple things with mediocrity.
I think that's a great tip. And a very easy one to take away and focus on for anyone watching, which is great. We've had a question from Laura that asks for any tips for charities, and I know that our panel here might not have the biggest experience, but presumably charities tend to have a lower budget but want to have as big a reach as possible. So yeah, although Rishi, you're nodding, have you worked with some charities?
Yeah, I'd love to jump in this. I work with loads of charities personally, doing also then corporate side of things as well, and mostly homeless charities within London, Crisis, Shelter, so on, and I love them. It's a dear place in my heart. I would say if you've got large budgets, then there's so much room of things to do, but let's use the kind of smaller budget side of things. Charities, what we find is loads of people want to get behind charities that give them space to get involved. And by that, I mean, there is room to grow communities within a charity doing exciting events and marketing them to be coming to do something in person, like a fun run, to do things online as well, to give. If you are, say, in the idea of a homeless charity, if we start sending kind of news and updates, and not obviously just sad news, but like also good news, like great stories and stuff of this is what the donations have done to help person X to get back in society, to get some education and whatever else. And building a community around a charity, I think could be a lot easier than there are for a lot of other brands, which we find it very difficult to sometimes. But it's just about how you can be creative about getting these people who actually already want to donate, because they want to be a part of helping something that they believe in. And that's why I love to donate to especially homeless charities, because I believe in these charities and that they're going to do well. So I want to be a part of that movement kind of thing. So definitely look into that community building side. And like I say, follow people on Instagram, look at YouTube videos, how to build communities on social media.
I think, maybe a little bit. It's good to go a little bit old school. Like if you're involved with a charity, you probably have great stories about the people who are the beneficiaries of that charity. I mean, you should absolutely do all the technical things and do this, but at a certain point, can you get these stories across? It's just very like on a fundamental basis. Like, can you just tell really arresting human stories? I think if you find a way to do that in a clear manner, so I don't really have any like specific things about Instagram or TikTok, because I don't like those platforms. But I guess if you can connect to that very human element of it, and do it with a certain clarity, you do have moral authority behind you too. So
yeah, I agree with both of those comments. And I think I'm going to now give an example that's probably on the complete flip side, and it's a charity which I'm sure has a huge budget, and that's Greenpeace have recently done an ad. It's like a long ad. It's about 5 minutes long, a video all about essentially climate change. And I watched it. And if you have 5 minutes and you're interested in knowing, how have they done their storytelling, by the end of it, I was like, had signed up, had bought a t-shirt. Like, honestly, I was like, I'm so invested. And it was all from that one video. So it was just a very compelling story, but it doesn't have to necessarily be that high end production. As mentioned, it's more just like tapping into like, what do the people that are interested in your charity care about? If they're believers in your charity or they care about your mission, what is that and why? And then I guess it's like, how do you then tell that story? So yeah, as both of these guys have just said, it's like the real human kind of element.
Awesome. Those are really, great pieces of advice for charity watchers. I think we have time for one more question just before we go. And the last one in the Q&A is a really good one actually from Natalie. just as a final thing, are there any other resources you'd recommend to keep on learning about marketing skills? Any particular books, courses, or just keeping up to date on a general basis?
I think just, yeah, I don't know if there's any books that I would read for keeping up to date too much. There's general entrepreneurship books or business books that I love to read, but I would say, yeah, something you said before is find a few people. I think I can't remember the exact name, but someone called Bradley Johnson, and I follow him. I always watch his stuff. It's quite engaging, and you want to engage with his posts. And he updates you on so many different things all the time. He's posting like 3-4 times a day, and I think he has a great account on how your Instagram accounts and TikTok accounts and social media platforms should be. If you can slowly get to that stage, obviously you have a starting point and you build from that.
I think
Olivia?
I was just waiting to answer. I was like, so I think in terms of resources, I am quite a big book reader, and obviously at this moment in time, I've forgotten every single book I've read because that's just the way it is on a webinar. But I can happily share some afterwards because we can pull together kind of a blog that answers some more of the questions as well. But I've read quite a few interesting books specifically on more about upskilling myself, so things like about copywriting, or even a few kind of brand books, things that are kind of a bit more timeless, so they're not so tied down to a specific channel, but it's more, you know, you need to have good copywriting skills to tell the story across any marketing channel. So that's always something that'll be beneficial. In terms of courses, I haven't done any lately, but again, we can share some resources for that. And as I said, it's more following other kind of brands and creators on the channel specifically, as well as a few different kind of newsletters. I also have a newsletter from someone called, might pronounce this wrong, I think it's Seth Godin, but he sends very useful emails.
One thing, sorry, I forgot to add on to that, something I do for my team all the time, because I'm not an expert in every field, is there's a website called Udemy.com, which is an online e-learning course platform where you got loads of people who sell their e-courses, and some of them might be like 60-70 quid, but then when you go to checkout, they're like £20. And I would, if you're a beginner in a lot of these things, copywriting, SEO kind of keywords, things like that, I would definitely recommend getting a few of these things, especially some of the topics that we've all talked about today, for £20 to get the base of these things. They are quite insightful and give you a good starting point into these worlds.
Rory, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I would say I am actually a professional copywriter too. So the professional copywriter in me says it's a skill. You might have to pay somebody to do it, but by all means, give it a go yourself.
You also did mention your YouTube upskilling in your intro as well. So
well, yeah, for sure. I think it's
very
just
useful.
it's a very big internet out there. There is lots and lots of information. So go grab some of it, I think.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. That's just about rounding up our discussion. But just before we jump off the call, I just wanted to share a few things that Ticket Tailor has, which you may or may not be aware of, that could help you with your marketing. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can't see that. I think it should be going fine. But the first thing we have, obviously the most basic thing for people maybe starting out in events, is options to brand your event. So we have a design studio, which just means you can take your basic event page from kind of out of the box, very usable, but not very look, to something a bit more exciting. I hope yours a bit more exciting than my coffee festival that I made in 2 minutes, but it was just to give you an idea. If you're sort of don't have much budget but want to get a flavor of your brand, pop in your pictures, pop in your brand colors, and you can share that straight away. If you're sort of growing a bit further, you might be looking for a website. Oh, it's got sound, I might mute the sound. But we, the Ticket Tailor team, built another product called Flyer. So that's a free website builder. It's not, super advanced. It's kind of a step up from maybe a Facebook page, but it gives you that little corner of the internet that might add a sort of presence to your brand if you're looking for one that you don't have yet. And it's completely free to use and links to your Ticket Tailor event page. So that's a nice place to start and go to the next level. And obviously there's lots of ways to share your event once you've got it. You've got your event page link, and we also have a QR code built in, which you can pop on your posters and everything. There was a poster there. Okay, didn't show the first time, but yeah, you can pop your QR code on posters. So if you're doing like offline marketing, that's a really good tool to just stick up and direct people where you want them to go. One thing I definitely recommend that Ticket Tailor has is a referral code. So on your event links, you can pop in sort of a tag, and Ticket Tailor will automatically track sales from this tag. So in this example here that it's just showing you, you go to promote, edit your link, and then you can type something like Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're sharing this link, it'll be a unique link to that place. And then if someone clicks on that link and buys a ticket, it's going to register those for you. So if you're marketing in a few places and want to see what's effective, I think referral tags are a really quick and easy way to get started understanding how your marketing efforts are doing. Obviously, you can export your data, all of your ticket data you can get out of Ticket Tailor really easily. And I've highlighted the sort of where the referral codes would show up in there. Also, a lot of event organisers use their checkout form to ask additional questions, like depending on their event, you might want to know the age of the buyer or the location or even how they heard. So those questions will also come out in your export, and it allows you to build up a nice picture of who's buying your tickets, which can then help you market better for your next events. We also connect to a lot of analytics tools. So if you haven't started yet, do take a look at these. So yeah, we've got Flowpoint, which is sort of AI tracker for those sort of website conversions. We've got TikTok Pixel, Google Analytics, and Facebook Pixel. So these might be a little bit for more advanced marketing strategies. That's when they can become more useful. And you'll see a couple of them require a custom domain. Again, if you've already got a really strong brand, I'd recommend checking out a custom domain, but it's not essential. But it is a really great tool and way to make your ticketing website look super professional. And coming soon, I just wanted to tease the issued tickets report. This is very, very near to be done, but this is going to be a filterable report free in Ticket Tailor. So you'll be able to see what tickets have sold. So this will be live in your event. So when you're selling, and you can add filters there. So you can see the timeline along the bottom. If you've done a big marketing push, you'll be able to see the impact of that in Ticket Tailor for free. So hopefully that will be really helpful when it's released. That was a completely quick whiz through. I did also see in the Q&A, we had some people ask about those people that didn't buy tickets, so the ticket drop off. I didn't have a slide in here to show that, but that's in, you can see that in your orders page. If you filter for incomplete orders, that will be a whole list of ticket buyers that didn't finish their order but were interested in your checkout. So I'll post a help document link about how to get that as well. But yeah, if you have any more questions, just reach out to us on hi@tickettailor.com, and we'll be happy to help you set up your box office in the best way to support your marketing. But yeah, that's all from me, and thank you again for our panel. It's been really great chatting to you, and yeah, hope everyone watching at home learned something and was inspired for their next event marketing.
Cheers.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.